Welcome to In Real Life, Foster Care Unfiltered, where real foster families share their journeys, the challenges, joys, and life-changing impact of opening their hearts and homes. In each episode, we explore the experiences of foster parents and the difference they make, with insights and guidance from Children's Home Society of North Carolina. If you've ever wondered what it takes to foster, you're in the right place. Let's dive in.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the inaugural podcast of In Real Life, Foster Care Unfiltered. I'm so excited to have our first guest today with us, Victoria.
Hi, it's great to be here.
Thank you so much. So glad that you're able to partner with us and talk a little bit about your fostering experience.
It was a great experience.
I can't wait to dig in and learn more about you and your experience. Can you tell us a little bit, Victoria, about what initially led you to your foster care journey?
My husband died in 2020, and I had done all the waterfalls and all the hiking and all of that kind of kayaking and the activities. And I used to be a Sunday school teacher. My husband was a pastor. And so I just realized that the thing missing most in my life was the kiddos. And then seeing all the commercials on TV about how desperate the area was for foster care, I thought, let me look into this and see if they'll take an old widowed lady.
Awesome. So talk to me a little bit. I can imagine. So it sounds like this is a new chapter, kind of the next stage of like, what do I do next in my life? Talk to me about some of the things that were going through your head at the time. Any fears or excitements that you had as you were initially engaging in the process?
Just very excited to, give a kiddo or two a foundation, something that they could count on that would change their life a little bit, perhaps.
Awesome.
And it changed mine completely.
Awesome. Were there any fears initially as you were, I know there's a lot of steps to become a foster parent in regards to training and background checks, or did you have any fears, or were you just like, let's do it?
I had originally gone through the training and all with respite care in mind.
Okay.
Just doing, weekends or when other foster parents needed to get away for a week or so watching kids. I had not intended on taking any, even though I had an empty 3-bedroom house.
Awesome.
An acre and a half of land, for the kids to run on. So
it really was just you saw this need in your community and
yes,
felt like you had the space and I can help with this like on weekends or a couple of days here and there.
Yeah.
Well,
it was just to see if there was a place where I could serve.
Awesome. And it sounds like in the midst of your journey, it kind of changed from respite to something else. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience as you fostered?
There was a 13-year-old boy that they called on and said he needs a permanent placement. And I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. And I had no intention of giving him back. He didn't speak to me for like 3 months. He had no height or weight gain for 3 years.
Oh, wow.
He was on Insure Plus twice a day, had lived homeless his whole life, and didn't come with any clothes, toothbrush or anything, but came with 2 big bags full of electronics. So he was an electronic genius, and this was the first time he had ever had a bedroom.
And during those 3 months, when you talk about how he really didn't speak much to you, what was that like for you? What were you thinking? What supports did you need? I
had to put myself in his shoes and see that he just had trust issues. We'd go to the grocery store and I'd say, put anything in the cart you want. And he wouldn't put anything in the cart. And I would say, well, do you like cinnamon rolls? No. Do you like pizza rolls? No. Turns out everything he said no to, he had never tried.
Right.
So I picked up some stuff and said, you're 13. We need 13 bites of this.
Oh, I love it. Great strategy.
And turns out he loved pizza rolls, learned how to make them in the air fryer. And it was great. He started trying new things.
So talk to me a little bit about that moment, that transformative moment when he did start opening up and trusting you a little bit and engaging. What was that like for you and for him, do you think?
He started engaging. I got us library cards, and we would go to the library.
Okay.
in the, before school started, and we would go and get puzzles at first.
Okay.
Because that's a quiet thing. And so we'd get 500-piece puzzles, and then when he'd get home from school or something, we would just sit down and put puzzles together without saying a word. I would just say, come on in here, we're going to do this for an hour. And we'd put puzzles together. And eventually he started to say stuff about his day while we were doing that. No eye contact, just putting puzzles together. And then we moved on to getting board games. Sorry, trouble, aggravation. It didn't take him long to realize those are all the same game.
Right. Absolutely. Awesome. So how long was he with you in total?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
What did you learn during that experience of fostering him for those 2 years? What would you think your biggest takeaway was?
That you have to treat the child as if it's your own. Not from the standpoint of we still had visits with his mom every week, that stuff. And he would talk about his mom constantly. And I knew he wasn't going back, but he did not. And it was no time to make him accept that. It was just, okay, well, I'm just going to be foster granny, and we're going to just go on and have life, and it was just incredible.
Awesome. I love that you call yourself the foster granny. Now, do the kids call you that as well?
I had 2 other permanent placements for a while, and they were, they called me Granny. Wow. And they still do. They keep in touch with me. They were able to go back to their parents, and so they still FaceTime me and call me Granny and want to know when they can go to Granny's place and that kind of stuff. So it's great. The 13-year-old, he was just short of 15 when he left.
Okay.
And I don't think he ever called me by anything. He didn't call me by my name. He didn't call me by Granny. He didn't call me anything. He just started talking when he finally started talking.
Sounds like you engaged in what we call shared parenting quite a bit with their families of origin, and
very much
that you were able to help reunify. Can you talk to us a little bit about that, about what that looked like for you and for the young men that you were able to foster?
You have to literally put into these kids as if they were your own, like I said, because where I lived was like 45 minutes away from where the visits were. And so when I got all 3 kids, 2 of them were siblings, they had 2 times a week visitations with their parents, and the older boy had once a week. So I was able to get one of the visits lined up with all of them at the same time. And so it only was 2 trips to town. But it was great. Sometimes the older boy's mom didn't show, which was hard on him. But we would just go do something while the other kids had their visits. Most of the times the moms wanted me to stay in there, but then they were talking to me instead of to their children. So I found a place to go where they could, it was kind of like teaching the parents how to visit their kids. Okay, telling the mom, you want to ask him about this. This was his great thing this week. Ask him about it. And
it sounds like
being a facilitator.
Oh, absolutely. And it sounds like through that you were able to establish some trust not only with the kids you were fostering, but with their parents, because I believe you mentioned that you have continued relationships.
Yes.
Talk to us a little bit about that with your relationships with their birth parents.
With the 2 boys that were siblings, they'd gone on and had another child now. And I was so thrilled that they got the kids back. Their parents are always going to be recovering addicts, but they love their children to death. In fact, the mom goes, "What did you do to my children?" I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "They're polite. They eat everything." And they asked for baths and asked to go to bed. And I said, children thrive on structure and discipline. They need to know what's coming so they know they're safe. And I gave her, I had a schedule that I used. I put them on schedules the first day I got them. And she goes, "Can you give me a copy of that schedule?" And so one of the visits, we went through the schedule and how it works and why it works. And allowed her to tweak a couple of things for how their home life is with the other child. And she was just absolutely amazed, but thrilled. And the kids just thrived tremendously under it. And they've been able to do that since they've been home, to kind of keep the structure of bedtime stories and bath and, and it allows the parents to then have their own time, right, which they can talk through. And so it eliminates overwhelmment on both parts, the kids and on the parents.
Right. So it sounds like you went into this as you saw a need in the community and to give back and to make a difference in lives of kids, and you've made a difference in lives and families and been able to see that be successful. What does that feel like, or what are some of your reflections if you've been able to still stay a part of their lives?
Oh, it's just a privilege. They were incredible kids. I mean, they just, other people wanted kids to just fit into their system, and that's just not the way kids work. You take them to the park, you're theirs until they go to bed. And I don't know, it's the most fulfilling thing I've ever done. And I've been on missionary trips. I've like I said, I've taught Sunday school. I was also teaching Life Challenge for addicted women, and so it gave me both aspects. It gave me from the Life Challenge women who had lost their children, it let me know how the mothers of these boys were feeling, perhaps. And then working with the kids, I was able then to help the mothers at Life Challenge realize that the people that have their kids are just trying to do what's best until they got themselves together. And so that gave them encouragement to stay on track.
I love that you saw the needs not only of the children you were fostering in your home, but of their extended families. And it sounds like you were able to encourage them and walk alongside them to help them reunify.
Well, that's the goal, is reunification. And even though I knew the older boy was not going to be able to go back and live with his mom, at least he was able to teach her how to talk to him instead of she would just talk about past stuff and all the time, never anything new and never anything about him. And I was able to get her to start to get engaged with him to where he wanted to open up and share with her.
That's awesome.
I mean, he had never left her side, but he also needed her to communicate with him.
Absolutely. He needed his needs to be met and to be heard. And you were able to kind of shepherd some of that in that relationship.
Yeah.
It's awesome. So in the three young men that you were able to foster, what would you say was the greatest moment or best experience that you had in your years of fostering?
I took them up to my home state for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and we were staying at my daughter's because she had a place upstairs just for me. And so we had air mattresses everywhere, and the boys sleeping all around like a camp out. And she always gets the whole family matching pajamas. And when we got there, she gave all three of the boys matching pajamas that matched the rest of the family. And I have pictures of them just sitting on the steps waiting to come down to Christmas. And my daughter had everything underneath there for those three boys. And they were just thrilled beyond belief. And it was amazing. And I think that the fact that they just said, thank you, and this is for us. And I mean, the joy they had was just incredible. And I think that was one of my big moments, is they just felt like they were included.
I love that. A lot of times foster parents talk about the fear of fostering older children because of not being able to experience some of those first moments and kind of being, if I've never parented before, how can I parent a teen? But what you just described was the joy of an older child, but seeing things for the first time maybe and having experiences that would be more indicative of a younger child. What would you say to foster parents who don't really know what age group they want to foster, but may be a little fearful of fostering teens?
Teens just want to be heard. They want to know they count. They want to see their value. It's not about you as the foster parent. It's about the child. What can you give that child? And for the older child, it was just time and attention. And when I got the younger ones, it was not making the older child have less time. The bedtimes were structured where he and I still had our time. It was nap time when he got home from school. We could still play our games, things like that. I don't know. It was just, he was an incredible kid. A small example is his first day of school in math, 8th grade. He wrote in 1-inch letters, "When in my life am I ever going to use this?" on his math paper. Okay. I put him in the robotics club, and they built robots and went to state competition. And a year later, he was getting straight A's in math, loved math. It was his favorite subject. And it no longer mattered when was he going to get to use it. He was already using it. And I'm not a math person. That light bulb didn't go off for me. So it was incredible to watch the light bulb go off for him. And he realized that he was one of the smartest kids in the room. And that was a great experience for him.
I love that. It sounds like whatever challenge presented in your home, or when the kids weren't sure of something, you took that as what can we do with this, instead of, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? It was more, what can we do with this?
Well, one of the things I found out about the older one was he would never make eye contact. And as I started looking, his eyes were flying out. And so I made an appointment with an optometrist and took him. And they ended up having to do surgery to cut the muscles to line his eyes and put him in glasses. And that changed his whole world, because he could see, he could focus. He quit being bullied when he could look at people eye to eye instead of them thinking he was just, off someplace. It made a huge difference, and let him pick out his glasses, and he just felt all cool in them. And it was a good thing.
Yeah. You really were able to help him with his self-esteem and his confidence and how he felt about himself, which I'm sure impacted how he interacted with others.
Yeah, it made a big difference, because he was bullied. I mean, I was on first name basis with the principal. I was there, at least once or twice a week to get things sorted out. And he found a teacher that would take her lunch break in a teacher's lounge or room and take him a couple days a week and go get McDonald's for him or something. And that way he didn't have to be in a great crowd all the time. He could ease into, and it made him feel special. And
Absolutely.
Just working with the school, the communication is 100% with the kids, listening to them, and then dealing with it with the people that can make the difference. And if it's me, great. If it's another foster parent, great. If it's their parents, fantastic. But working with them with school and stuff like that, that's important. Communication has to work all ways.
Absolutely. I love that we're kind of entering into talking about supports. You've mentioned the birth parents and the role that they played. You were talking about the teacher that made a difference in the 13-year-old's life when he was kind of doubting his ability in himself. Yes. What other supports do you feel like were available to you as a foster parent? Well,
the care workers or social workers, whatever they were called. I mean, all of their visits, which with 3 kids, that's 3 visits, 3 times a month. Right. But having them come in and talk to the child by themselves without me in the room to find out if the track I was taking was really working with them. But I usually could still hear what was going on, even though they were in a closed door situation, because that's what I was unsure of. That's what I didn't trust. I didn't want any other parent or person in a closed door situation with my babies. I mean, you don't know what to expect or where people are coming from. And so I wanted to be able to hear, and it was working. I mean, the reaction from the older one was the best one to articulate it, because the other 2 were 1 and 3. Okay. So the 3-year-old was very articulate, but the 1-year-old, he was learning. So
you really had a continuum of ages, 13, 1, and 3.
Yes.
I would imagine there weren't a lot of dull moments in your home.
None. Plus I had a big dog. And the 13-year-old had never been around animals, wouldn't even look him in the eye. The 1 and 3-year-old thought he was one of their stuffed animals and rode him and laid on him and, everything. So,
which is a great segue. What changes do you feel like you had to make within your family dynamic or your everyday life in fostering, or were there any?
I had to wake up every day, and I'm a person that sleeps till noon typically.
Gotcha.
So I was up early. Getting all the meals together. I hadn't done that in a long time. My husband cooked the last 10 years before he passed. And so learning to cook again, and then cooking children's meals, the all yellow meal of fish sticks, macaroni and cheese and corn. I mean, everybody loves the all yellow meal, but
I love all yellow meal. I've never heard that before, Victoria.
Yeah, we learned our colors through food. So, but finding out what the boys wanted for breakfast, being able to put, buying blueberries, which I don't like blueberries, but the 3-year-old liked blueberries. Can I have bananas and blueberries with my pancakes? Yes. Yes, you can. I mean, people don't understand that fostering is not a side job. It's not a part-time job. It's not for a little extra spending money. If you're doing it right, every dime you get goes back into those kids plus, because they need clothes. Even though the church was great, one of the ladies there had a kid in his class who was much taller and much bigger. And so she gave me all of his clothes for the 13-year-old. And, that worked out great. And then 1 and 3-year-old, thank God for Walmart, but, laying out all the clothes for the day, what books are we going to read? When is just playtime? I mean, you've got to have all those things built in, but they've got to look like they're happening. The kids had breakfast and they had a 10 o'clock snack. Then they had lunch at 12. Then they had a 3:30 snack. And then they had dinner at 5. And with those disciplines, they didn't ask for food all day long, which most foster children do because they're hungry. But getting a good breakfast with their berries and stuff with it, and then knowing they had snack time at 10, they were ready. I mean, they'd look at the clock and see 10 o'clock, and they would go sit up at the island, and we're ready for our snack. Okay. And then, noon, and then nap time, and then wake up, and we're ready for our snack, and then dinner time, and, then we usually had a little snack before bed too, and just making it fun.
There are approximately 11,000 children in North Carolina who need a permanent, safe, and loving home. Can you make a difference? Children's Home Society offers training, resources, and support to help you become a licensed foster parent. Learn more at chsnc.org and start your foster care journey today.
If you could tell future foster parents or people who maybe are considering fostering something that you wish you had known before you engaged, what would that be?
That you're going to fall in love with them. If you treat them like your own, they become your own. Fortunately, I had the position of granny. And so that makes it a little bit easier because what do they call me? Well, not foster mom, because they have moms and they're seeing their moms, don't want it to be confusing. But our granny just worked. And so being able to see them like that meant I could love them and hug on them. But when they were with their parents, it was their turn. I mean, it wasn't granny's turn, and it's a lot easier because a lot of people don't see their grandparents every day,
right? Or
just FaceTime with grandparents. So it became a natural transition. But anybody looking to foster that's unsure of fostering in the first place or age ranges, take a chance. Just jump in. Take a child. Take notes. Write down what you like, what you don't. Write down things about the child. How can we deal with this? What can, what would you like it to look like? And then talk to the child and see what their expectations are and see if there's a way to meet in the middle. For me, with the oldest one, it was the puzzles and the games. And then eventually he was a computer whiz. Like I said, he came with 2 bags of electronics and he made his own videos. Well, I had an electric piano and I let him hook that up to his computer because he knew how to do all that stuff. And he ended up re-recording his videos and making his own soundtracks and that kind of stuff. And so it was really super cool to see what all, new things he was capable of that he didn't know, being able to pull those out. He was in a summer program where 1 day a week they would go on an adventure of some kind. And the first one was whitewater rafting. Well, he was scared to death. He couldn't swim. So I took him to the store and we got him water shoes and swim pants and a swim shirt so that, he couldn't, because he was little compared to his age. And I said, just get out there and do it. They're not going to let you drown. That's just not in the rule books. I'll see you when you get back. And he was scared to death and he had the time of his life. And the next week they went rock climbing and he loved that. And just every adventure they did was something new for him, but something he ended up enjoying, where if he'd have got the choice, he wouldn't have done it. And it's what I called with my children, parent prerogative. I get to make you do this once, and if you don't like it, you don't have to do it again, but you've got to do it once. That's how I got my kids to like parent prerogative. You're going to watch Sound of Music because it's a parent prerogative that you get to see all of this great stuff. It's not about the musical, it's about the history and a large family of kids. I mean, it's just parent prerogative means I get to choose.
And it's a one-time deal. And
it's a one-time deal. If you don't like it, you don't have to do it again. But if you do, then boy, have I got some more adventures for you. And it worked. It worked with my kids and it worked with the foster boys too. And I also had a couple of other boys on respite on weekends and stuff from time to time. And some of those were a little more struggle. But the same philosophy works. They just need to know someone cares.
In the times where maybe there were struggles with either your longer term placements or respite placements, what kept you going, Victoria? What kept you from saying, I need to stop this. This isn't for me?
Because I wasn't doing it for me. I was doing it for them. And basically, if, God arranged for all of this to work, then He's going to give me the strength I need to get through it. So who am I to say this isn't working for me? I mean, it wasn't until I ended up with another disc in my neck going out and I couldn't raise my head without getting dizzy and that became unsafe that I had to seek health care and had to send the children. And that was hard.
Because I had to close your home.
I had to rehome my dog too. So, because I couldn't take care of him. He was dragging me. So, yeah. So, unfortunately, my age was a great part for the granny approach, but it also became a limited time doing something I loved because of the health issues. So.
But even in that, Victoria, you are not actively fostering anymore. You've fostered very successfully for many years, it sounds like. You're still doing something. And I think a lot of people that may be listening, maybe they've thought about fostering and aren't sure of how they can get involved. Maybe they're not ready to take foster youth into their home, but everybody can do something. And you're doing something right now by sharing your story and the need with others. What would you say to people who aren't sure like where to start or if I can start?
Most people seem to want to try the respite way first, and I know I did because I thought, well, I'll just get my feet wet a little bit instead of full time. I disagree with that because what I found out is the respite kids, they just feel like they got dumped off for 2 days with somebody else they don't know.
Right.
And so you don't have them long enough for them to trust you. And I think that if you just jump in any age, any need, and meet that, the kids will work with you. They just want to be loved. They just want something consistent. Pick a kid that's available and jump on board. I mean, it's just, there's no way to pick a child, no more than there was when you had your own. And if you don't have kids yet, it's a great way to learn a lot about children.
You talked a little bit about your daughter that you all went and visited for Christmas. How many
Yes.
Biological children do you have?
I have two, and two grandchildren that are grown and married.
And what about your family, your family of origin? What was their thought when you said you were I'm gonna sign up for foster care? I think I'm gonna become a foster granny. What were their thoughts or reactions?
You're gonna do what? But I did, and I have 5 brothers and sisters. And like I said, when we were home for Christmas, on Christmas night, we all go to my mom's.
Okay.
And so there were 37 people there with the 3 foster boys, and all of my great nieces and nephews. They all just jumped in. I mean, the kids were all running around and playing and everything, just as if they had always known each other their whole life. Mm-hmm. Yeah, same with that parks. Kids love kids. They just automatically. They don't need introductions. They don't need, structured play. Kids love kids. And my family just opened their arms, and they were fantastic. They thought I was nuts, but they could see what was going on with the children for the different times. I mean, the 13-year-old, he was able to go home with me 4 times.
Okay.
2 years for Thanksgiving and 2 years for Christmas. And the other 2 were able to go home twice with me. And that was a neat experience, I think, for everybody.
So although there was some initial hesitation by your family, they really warmed up right away. And
they were more concerned about me than they were the children. So, they just said, "Are you sure you can do this?" And it's like, absolutely. I mean, it's on my heart. There's no way out of it now. And you take all the licensing classes, and it's a lot, and they discuss things, and they discuss ways that I wasn't necessarily on board with, because being a pastor's wife, I had a lot of experience with kids that were troubled and things, and it's just. So I wasn't sure how much of my experience I could actually take in and still meet their rules. And I kept all the rules, never broke the rules, but they needed to know that, I mean, you're allowed to be yourself. You're allowed to put into practice what you learned as a child or what you taught your children, or the thing, because the older you get, the more you know what works and what doesn't.
Right.
And that saves a lot of time, because those kids don't come into your house trusting you at all. They don't come in knowing how to take care of things because they've never had things, or they've had so many things, but they're not in places where they're kept. They're broken easily. They're bags of stuff. And that's what they see them as too, just bags of stuff. And it's important when they get something that they that's theirs, that they can take care of.
I love that you say you're allowed to be yourself. I think a lot of times, as you said, training, there is required training, and there are good reasons for that. And there are rules and regulations, but you have to incorporate your life and your experience within that, and allow it to be natural, and finding your rhythm in that.
I understand the rules and regulations; those are set in place, but they're just like those prescription commercials where they say, yes, take this, but the side effects are da-da-da-da-da, you may die. And it's like, well, then why do I want to take that? Well, because they've just got to cover that large gambit of things. Most people aren't going to die taking this. Well, the same with foster kids and the rules. The rules are there in general to try to treat every possible kind of child. But as you get to know your child, you'll know what works and what doesn't. And there again, you stay in the rules, but the things I was unsure of, like, okay, I know you can't foster, you cannot, there's no corporal punishment. Well, with my children, there was corporal punishment. But so that was a whole new thing, learning to communicate, or time out, or nap time, or that kind of thing, versus taking something away. You can't take something away from these children. Although for the 13-year-old, anytime he went and, how was your day? I could tell something was wrong, and he would say, nothing, nothing. And I said, okay, well, then you just aren't going to play on your computer until you can tell me what went on today. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, it was blah, 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 because he didn't want to lose his computer time. Mm-hmm. So there's ways around those kinds of things, but you have to learn what your child needs and what the rules are and find the blend that works. And every child is different, and every foster parent's different.
Mm-hmm. And would you say, I think a lot of times people struggle with the concept of fostering, and I don't know this child's background. You've also parented a couple of biological children as well. Would you say the same was your experience, that it wasn't a cookie cut approach even to your children, your birth children, that you had to figure out what worked with them? Would that be?
Absolutely, because with your own children, it doesn't matter which parent they look like. There is an innateness about them and their thought process. I have one child that's her dad. How she thinks is her dad, and I have no idea how she's going to process something. Where my son was me, my family, and so I knew his thoughts before he even said them. I mean, I knew what was going to upset him, what wasn't. It wasn't a favoritism thing, which my daughter thought it was for a while when she was a child, but it was just an innateness that they're processing. Mm-hmm. And that's what it takes with foster children too. You have to get to know them. They're not just dropped in your life, and that's it. You have to get to know them, but then you've got to stack things on top that teach them how to survive and grow up away from you and away from all parents, because they're going to grow up.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I love that. I always say, I'm a therapist by education. I used to tell people when they come in to see me, unfortunately, the kids haven't read all the books that we read as adults.
Right.
So sometimes you have to figure it out, whether it's parenting children of your own or parenting children through the foster care system.
I think that the older boy ended up, like I said, he was just short of 15 when he left. And he went to a couple that was in my licensing class, but they had not taken any children for the whole 2 years.
Okay.
Yet. And we met them for dinner one night, and just so they could see him, get to meet him, and he could get to meet them without him knowing anything about the possibility of them taking him. Mm-hmm. And they loved the relationship he had with me. Mm-hmm. And she wanted that, but she wanted to adopt a child, and he was not ready to be adopted. Mm-hmm. Even though he finally understood he wasn't going back. But she wanted a child like them and like her children who were grown. And I said, no, he's an individual. You've got to meet him where he is. You can give him all this stuff. But, if you're going on these trips to historical towns, take him with you, even if he doesn't want to go. Make him read the signs. Make him read it out loud to you. I mean, hey, do this, parent prerogative again. He'll learn, and he'll be amazed when he goes back to school and has history class that, oh, I know that, I've been there. And they didn't do that. And I think they ended up giving him up, which I think meant he went to a group home. I haven't been able to follow up on him, but it broke my heart that they wanted a cookie cutter of them instead of meeting the child where he was. Mm-hmm. So I think that they probably didn't end up being great candidates for foster parents. But they were a great couple, nice couple. They wanted things their way without knowing the child. And I kept meeting with them, and she had my number on speed dial, and it's hard. Mm-hmm. It's hard.
Yeah. Talk to us a little bit more about that, the flexibility that you learned through parenting children of your own as well as fostering. And just as a parent, that is a hard thing, especially when you've never parented before, or maybe you have ideas about how this should go. What would you say to those considering fostering who maybe were like, I don't know if I can be that flexible, or this is the way I raise and this is what I believe in? What would be your advice to them?
Share what you believe. but share why you believe it. For me, I was able to use the Bible for that. And when the oldest one would get off the bus, he knew the first thing he had to do after he put his stuff away, I'm fixing him a snack, and we're going to sit down and we're going to read, a sub story in a chapter, and we're going consistently through the Bible, and he knew that. And the reason I picked the Bible, one, is because of its truths and foundational structure, but two, there's vocabulary words in there that the best scholars still can't pronounce without hearing it first. And so by making him read out loud to me at the same time I'm reading with him, we were able to raise his vocabulary. We were able to teach him what they were talking about when he went to youth group at church. And I took them to church day one, just as if, that's where I was going. I wasn't leaving them at home for the day. So, that just became, part of the learning, part of the structure of, this is what we're going to do. Then we're going to play games because you've had your snack. And then we're, if it's nice, we're going outside. We're rolling down the hill. We're running with the dog, whatever there was. The flexibility has to be there. It was there with your children, whether you like it or not. And it's got to be with these children. But I will say again, having a schedule so that they know what to expect, not so you can be rigid, but so they know what to expect and when. They knew 6:00 bath time, because if we don't take our bath, we don't get a story time. So never fought on that. Always just, they were thrilled to take a bath. And it was every night. That's just what we do. That's part of the going to bed process. And then they each got to pick out a book to read. And then the older boy, I would have him just come in and showed him an old movie, War Games.
Okay.
With Matthew Broderick.
Okay.
And it showed how the computers played tic-tac-toe with itself to get to the no-win scenario. He had never heard of it. I don't think he'd ever sat through a movie in his life, and he absolutely loved it. And this came out in like 1980. But he loved it because he saw these math kids trying to figure out through a game how to win.
Which was something he was interested in, and you had found out early on. Right?
It took all the elements of things he liked, but I had to make him sit there. I said, no, you can sit with me in the chair. You can sit on the couch. Bring your pillow and blanket if you want, but trust me, you will enjoy this movie. And he loved it. But there again, it was finding something to focus, to bring out, to show him that he can enjoy what he's doing. And when the robotics club ended up going to state, he was thrilled to death. That was 3 days away on a weekend, just being able to be with the other kids and collect buttons and stuff on a hat. And he just jumped in, and he had friends there, and it was great. And here he had been to a new school almost every year of his life.
Oh, yeah.
And then he came to me in 8th grade and left, going into 10th. So 2 schools there too. You have junior high and then you have high school. So
awesome. What did you do, or what do you think about preparing kids for transitions? It sounds like the 13-year-old left your home to go to another, what could have been a long-term placement for him, an adoptive home. And then the younger children are able to go back home to their
parents with a new sibling.
So what would you say, how do you prepare kids for transitions like that?
For the older one, it was a little more difficult, but I prepared him by saying, hey, you are at an age now, you have never had a male role model in your life. This is a couple. He will teach you things that only guys can teach you. He will, when he's out there working on his car, go out, ask questions, treat it as a learning experience until they get to know you. Join them where they're at, because he needed those kinds of next level instructions. The younger boys, it was, hey, you get to go back to mom and dad. You've got a new brother it's going to be a big family of 5 now. So every time you want something, you have to wait your turn. You have to learn to be patient. We're going to hold our hand up and say, Mom wants, and wait. And teaching the parents the same thing. Hey, don't be on your phone all the time. When you see his hand up or when he says mom or dad, answer, even if it's just wait a minute. Teaching them, that everybody wants to be kind and meet your needs, but you have to be patient and kind also. And teaching kids how to be kind, that made me a kinder person. It really was. It catches your flaws wide open.
Yeah.
But as a foster parent, you don't have to be perfect. No child is expecting a perfect parent. There's just no such thing. And so many foster parents, the questions they were asking, the fears they had in the training, the way they were approaching it, like they were trying to approach it from a neurological Sigmund Freud, place. And it's like, when was the last time you just played? Go out in your yard and kick a ball. They got a basketball hoop, and the 13-year-old, like I said, he was a computer person. He was not an athlete at all. Watching him run was like watching Phoebe on Friends. It was just...
I can relate.
Yeah. And so I got a basketball hoop from my sister and brought it down, and we set that up. And there was times when he and I would just go out and play horse, shoot, just so he could get the strength built up in his arms and stuff. I mean, you've got to try all kinds of different things as a parent prerogative, to teach them things. I mean, they can't just stick to what they know. What they know hasn't worked. So they need new things too to take back home. And that helps in the transition. The younger kids were able to say, oh, we play with this at this time, or this is the book I want to read because this is what Granny reads every night. So letting the parents know it's okay to incorporate some of the kids' new structures because they work and they will keep you from being overwhelmed and sending you back into a dark place where you don't want to go.
Yeah.
And so if you could get the parents or the next people to understand a little bit more about the kids that they didn't know, especially if it's their parents, then they open right up. Now, I'm sure the 13-year-old who was 15 at the time, I'm sure he didn't speak to them the first couple of months, and that may be all the longer they gave it. But if you take a child, keep the child as if it's at all possible. They're not going to be perfect children, but they're going to turn into delights. They just need to know someone cares and that what they do matters.
Yeah. I love the modeling piece that you talk about too, of playing with the kids. A lot of times, I think some of the butting heads comes to, we have expectations of what we want kids to do, but they may not know how to. Just to say, go outside and play. If I've never played or that's never been something, but the fact that you went out and played basketball with, or, you were open to playing the games with or getting down on the floor. I think sometimes we don't realize that piece.
Well, yeah, I had to do that with my children. There weren't phones back then, so you weren't distracted, but there was still TV. So if my kids wanted to watch a TV show, I sat there and watched it with them. So I always knew what they were watching. There's teaching moments inside of everything. And if you take advantage of it, your kids grow up to be independent, hardworking adults like you're supposed to. But they're fun. Kids love to have fun. Adults love to have fun. Why not do it together? We'd go walk around a big lake, 2.8 miles, and with the dog. And that's a lot for little kids. I mean, put them in the stroller, let them walk when they can, stop for breaks all the time. It's not your schedule. It's theirs. You're not doing this for you. You're doing it for them. Right. You end up getting the blessings from it, but look at the foundations you've laid, and that can be done in a short time, even with some of the respite boys that I only had for the weekend or for a week. They change easily. Children are very moldable. So make sure you're in it for the right reason.
Yeah. And I love that you talk about too that, it's not about you, it was about them is why you went into it. But along the way, it sounds like you got a lot out of it as well.
Oh, very much. Very much. It was just, it added a playfulness back into a time in my life when I needed a fresh start. And they were sunshine, man. And yet they didn't know they were sunshine. They felt like, nobody cares. Where's my mom? And it's like, well, your mom is getting well. When can I go back? When your mom's well, and that's it. So it puts the burden on them, not the kid, not me. And so I'd take them for visits and their parents would say, how you doing? When can I come live with you? What? Not right now. Well, Granny said it's when you get well. Yeah, that's right. So they were, 3 years old telling their parents, when you get well, I can come home. And that's good because that encourages the parents that they have a goal in all this too. They have a responsibility regarding the children they chose to have.
Well, in our last few moments here, what would be your last closing words of wisdom or encouragement that you would want to leave with anyone who may be listening to this podcast about who may be considering fostering or isn't sure about what all that entails, even after listening to this? What would you say to them?
You don't have to do it for life, but know every moment is going to change somebody's life. Just jump in and enjoy the ride. It's like being in the front of the roller coaster. Put your hands up and smile through it. It is, they're the most loving children, and all they want is someone who cares.
Oh, I love that. Well, it's been great talking to you and meeting you today, Victoria, and hearing a little bit about your journey. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for joining us on In Real Life, Foster Care Unfiltered. If you're interested in becoming a foster parent or supporting children in foster care, visit chsnc.org to learn more. And if you're a current or former foster parent with a story to share, email us at inreallifepodcast@chsnc.org.